Hi everyone and welcome back to the Marshall Variety channel. So this is a very exciting video for me to film because it's been so long since I've sat down and just played with makeup, just me and you, or me and all of you should I say, and I've been really excited about filming this. Of course I've been in work an absolute ton, so I've been waiting to have some time off, but I just decided I'll do it like I always do it, which is just in the middle of the night when I should really be in bed. But oh well, you love me for that because at least I'm going to be here and talking to you all. So I did film a video. Well, remember when I mentioned in our last video that we had a haul already filmed which I couldn't upload? I had also filmed a solo makeup video as well where I'd updated you on techniques and products I've been using, and again, same thing with that one, couldn't get it uploaded, so I ended up losing it and getting rid of it in the end. And I'm kind of glad that happened really, because since then I've got new products I want to talk about, but not just that, my makeup routine in general has completely and utterly shifted, and definitely for the better, I think. I can't wait to talk to you all about all the things I've been doing. So this is going to be, they're always quite long, like 40 minutes or so. This one's going to be probably a bit longer, probably on the hour mark I would have thought, because I'm going to be explaining all new techniques I've been doing, new products I've been using, some products I've gone back to that I didn't used to like but now I do like, and all that sort of stuff. Because I've grabbed like a couple of little baby hauls, but I didn't want to do baby hauls. I kind of wanted to shove it all into one really big makeup extravaganza, so I'm really excited to talk to you all today. It's going to be awesome. But first I want to know, how are you all doing? Are you all doing okay? I really hope things are okay with you. I hope you're doing good in your job. I hope at least that you're getting through it and you're not dreading it. I hope that you, your families, that you're all happy, everything is bliss. I really hope. Because I, for one, am doing extremely well. As you all know, we mentioned in the last video, I have a new job now and I absolutely love it. Like, it's like my life has done a complete 180 since I moved on from my previous job. But it's not just that. As you all know, I was struggling a lot with, well no, not as you all know, I'm telling you, I struggle a lot with mental health, in particular anxiety. And I was having a really heavy bout of like depressive episodes. I can't say I had depression because I don't know, but that's what it felt like, and it was really deep, really dark. So I decided to go to the doctors before I quit my previous job, and I'm not ashamed to say I'm on medication for it. I am on, you know, some antidepressants which also help with anxiety as well, and the combination of those and my new job, which I'm really enjoying and plays so to my strengths, it's not even funny, is amazing. It's honestly life-changing. Like, I feel completely different. Like, I honestly feel like a new person. It's absolutely insane. And I don't want anybody to think that it's because of them or something. I want you all to know what was getting me through before was seeing all of you, all my regular customers and my colleagues from my previous job as well. You all got me through it. So you got me to the point where where I realised, right, I need help and I need help now. And I can't thank you all enough for that, so thank you so much. But I think you'll all be glad to hear that I'm doing so well, and I honestly couldn't be happier. Like, 2019 has gone from being one of the worst years of my life to one of the best years of my life in a space of a month. Like, 8 weeks I've been at my new job, and it's like, I just can't get over it. It's absolutely crazy. But yeah, let's get into the makeup before we get too soppy. So I did my brows off camera as always. As you can tell, they're very different. Well, much better shaped for one, and a slightly lighter colour because I've been figuring out that taupe is more my colour really than soft brown. Because for some reason, whenever I buy a soft brown, which is what I think I am, because my hair's brown and silver at the minute, but it's always way too dark and it goes on medium brown to me. So I've been delving into the taupe realm and I've been really enjoying it. So what I use to do my brows is completely different now, so we're going to discuss that first. So I have the Urban Decay Brow Blade. So what this is a very unique product. I've never seen one like this before. So on the one end we have a waterproof brow pencil. You know, one of the typical really thin, like a Benefit Precisely My Brow, if any of you use that. And the other end is a ink stain of the exact same colour, and it's a very fine felt tip marker which you can use to do hair-like strokes. You use this side to fill it in, this side for like hair-like strokes. And I really like the product. I do think this is a really nice product and I do really enjoy it. And if you're someone like me who doesn't fuss over the shape so much and don't have horribly filled eyebrows to begin with, then I think this will be the perfect product for you. I do really like this. I'm not sure if I'd repurchase it though, because I was doing my brows a different way recently, and I get the same result like this, you know, nice, thinner, nicer shaped, all that sort of stuff, but it takes less time. Like, I have to faff with this a little bit because it's not extremely pigmented on the pencil side where the ink stain is. So the other way I've been doing it, the colour for this is too dark, but I'm going to show you the product anyway. As you can see, it is very well loved because we've got barely any left. So this is the L'Oreal Brow Artist Shaper. This one is in medium brown, I believe, or brunette. but I'm going to need the taupe shade. I'm going to rebuy this because it's only about £6. The Urban Decay Brow Base is 18. You can get it on Funi, you can get it on Debenhams, all that good stuff. So this is about £7, and this is like, you know, it looks like an eyeliner kohl pencil, but it's for your brows. It's way more pigmented, and it's easier. I find it easier to work with really pigmented brow products because you can get a shape sketched in so easy and you haven't got a faff with the concealer. So even though I do really like this product, I think I'm going to be going back to my old way of doing that and then filling it in with the Anastasia Beverly Hills Soft Brown Dip Brow Pomade, which I have mentioned in previous videos. This is a tiny bit too dark, but when I just use a little bit and just fan it through the brows with a new brush I bought, the Zoeva brow line brush, the Zoeva 322 brush, then I do really enjoy that. I think that's my preferred way, even though I do really like how they look now. And this colour is definitely more my speed, so definitely going to be buying taupe brow products in the future, because my hair isn't deep brown to begin with. It's more on a dirty ashy blonde with a little bit of ginge. So yeah, there's the brows done, and I've cut them out with the concealer I've been using lately, the Collection Lasting Perfection Concealer. Now this one is broke somehow and it's oozing everywhere, so I'm going to be losing a lot of product, but thankfully this is only £3, and I highly recommend this. This is in shade Extra Fair, and it has a little doe foot applicator. Now I find this concealer perfect for cutting your brows, as it's really nice and pale, but not too pale to the point where it's like white, as you can tell. And I hope you guys like the lighting, by the way. I've bought the two ring light mirrors back, and hopefully they'll do a good job in the meantime when we save up for a ring light, because they're so expensive. We thought we could get them for a decent price. Oh no, we need to save. But yeah, that's what I've been doing with my brows. I'm cutting them out with the Morphe M166 brush. This is a great brush for your brows. I think it's a bit too big for a cut crease unless you have really deep set eyes, but it's really good for eyebrows, so highly recommend. Unless you have wire thin eyebrows, then I would recommend something a bit thinner, like the Spectrum, what's it called? There's a Spectrum brush I really like, which is like that. It's one of the only Spectrum brushes I kept, actually. This is the Spectrum A16 brush, which is red at the minute because I used it for my Halloween makeup, but it's a nice thin flat paddle brush. That's nice to cut that's nice to do a cut crease with. That's what I do with cut creases. So yeah, we're gonna go on to eyes next, because as I always say, do your brows and your eyes first, because then you haven't got a faff with everything else. So I'm going to use, as always, the MAC Painterly Paint Pot. As you can see, I'm hitting the bottom. I've had this for almost a year now, so there's an absolute ton of product in here. You get so much use out of it. So what this actually is, because I know people have asked me before what this product actually is, it is an eye base. So it's for your eyes, it's for your eyeshadow to apply and blend better. But it's actually a cream pigment is what it is. But it's just always used as a base because it's called Pro Longwear Paint Pot. And there are multiple shades. There are deeper shades if this one is a bit too light for you. I wish there was one that was actually even lighter than this, like concealer colour, because this has a slight, ever so slight browny oranginess to it that you can't see it when you start blending eyeshadow over it, but it bugs me sometimes. But I do love this product, and I have noticed that it does make my eyeshadows wear longer, because when I was wearing Morphe eyeshadows in the past, when I didn't wear an eye primer, they broke apart and they started falling out on my face, whereas when I used that, they didn't budge and they didn't crease. So, highly recommended. Of course, I've got my Pepsi. Never gets old. Right, so let's go on to eyeshadow. So this is probably the most exciting part of the entire video, so that doesn't mean the rest of the video is going to be boring. Don't worry, we have a lot of new things to talk about, because my face is completely different now. Obviously, as you can tell, I've shaved, and that was for Halloween purposes, so I could blend everything down into my neck. So I'm going to have to blend my foundation into my neck today, otherwise I'm going to look bizarre. But I'm going to have to sculpt down here a bit as well, but we'll get to that. So eyeshadow. So as you all know, eyeshadow is my favourite part of the routine. I absolutely love doing eyeshadow, and I've gone from strength to strength when it comes to blending, and as you saw in the last video, where me and my mother worked with eyeshadow together, I have two different distinct styles. I'm leaning more towards the one at the minute, and that's the second one, where you start with the transition and blend down, but I do also like starting from the bottom and blending up as well. To me, it depends on the palette. If it's something that has extremely pigmented eyeshadows, I think starting with the transition and blending it downwards is easier. Whereas if there's shades that have to be built up, I would recommend starting from the bottom so you can really define the socket and then build it upwards instead. It all depends. And it's also how you like to blend. Like, some people like to use lots of different brushes, get lots and lots of blending techniques going. Some people don't. It really is just down to the person and personal preference. So I hold this palette recently. This is a brand new eyeshadow palette, and this is one of the most exciting palettes ever, and I've already used it a multitude of times. I've used it multiple times for work, and I've used it for my current Facebook profile picture has this palette as well. So this is the Natasha Denona Sunrise palette. Now, how stunning is this reflective red chrome packaging? It's absolutely gorgeous. Now, I expect plenty of you are like, who's that? I've never heard of that brand before. So this is a luxury eyeshadow brand. She does other things as well, but she's mostly well known for her eyeshadow formula because her mattes are some of the apparently creamiest and best blend on the market. But it also comes with a creamiest and best blend on the market price tag as well. And her normal palettes that aren't this shape, they're usually bigger than this, are ranging between £130 and £250. And I'm like, oh my god, absolutely crazy, right? And unless I could put it on a 3-step payment plan, I would never ever buy that out the gate unless money was no object. Then of course I would. Who cares then? But this is a way more approachable one. This is smaller than a normal palette, and you have smaller pan sizes in you. You still get a nice amount of product. You still get 17 grams worth, which is plenty for an eyeshadow palette, I think. And this is 60, so it's still very, very pricey. But my Jeffree Star was 54. Love that to death. And this is one of my favorite color stories ever in a palette. And I will say, before I talk about what I think about the palette, let's just show you the inside. So this is the Sunrise palette, and it is so my vibe when it comes to eyeshadow. So as you can see, very sunrise colours, you know, orange yellows, deep burgundies, there's a nice reddy orange, and some gorgeous shimmers. We've got a stunning duochrome one here, we got red glitters, there's an absolutely stunning shade right in the middle, that one there, Azalea. I'll swatch all of this in a little bit for you. And it's like a sort of burgundy-ish, brownish, bronzy base, but it has really intense, very intense red glitter, and I absolutely love that colour. So I may use that one today, I don't know. There's a stunning gold in here, there's bronzes, all that good stuff. So I'm going to insert swatches right here. And I'm going to talk, I love the palette. I think this is an absolutely gorgeous product. If you can afford to splurge for something like this, I do highly recommend it, especially if you notice, if you're one of those people who notices when an eyeshadow is bad and when an eyeshadow is good, you'll notice how good quality these are. Because every time I've used the mattes thus far, the blend is like incredibly easy, like literally 10 seconds. Like I've worn this to work multiple times because it's so easy to get it on and blend it. I compare it to the Jeffree formula quite a bit. Like Jeffree's is still a bit different because it's a bit silkier than this. But these are really buttery though. They're just, oh, the blend is amazing. Like I was blending the other day and it literally blended like, and I was like, oh, I was like, how is that so quick? And they are beautiful, and all the colours blend so well together. There isn't a colour that's out of place, you know? Like, I have actually used every single colour in the palette so far, because I've been doing some really cool things with my eyeshadow lately, so I will be talking you through that. But you might see in some of the swatches, some of them don't swatch as well as others because some are pressed pigments, and as we all know, pressed pigments have to be pressed on and blended. They don't swatch immediate, but some of the ones that do, oh my god, you'll be shocked. So yeah, let's get on to the look I'm going to do today. So, I'm going to do a look I did quite recently with this palette, probably a similar one anyway, with a similar colour palette. So I'm going to get my eyeshadow brushes, I'll talk you through the brushes first, and then we'll get to blending. So what am I going to use? This one. I've been using a lot more eyeshadow brushes lately to do my eyeshadow, and I've been much preferring the results that I've been getting. So I'm going to continue in that vein. So as you can see, quite a lot of brushes. So the brush I always start with, and this is the brush I apply and blend my transition with, is the Morphe M433 brush. I've raved about the Morphe brushes plenty of times. They are worth the hype that people give them. They're so cheap, they're about £5–6 a brush, some are even cheaper than that. And this is a great, really fluffy blender brush. It's not the most ideal for really hooded eyes, but I like it for a transition because a transition you can apply it quite high up and you don't go so low, so I find this is an easy brush to use for that. Then I go on with and start blending the main crease colour through with the Morphe M506. This is the tapered blender for hooded eyes. Absolutely love this product. Another brush I absolutely love from Morphe. This one was about £6 I think, and I've had a hell of a lot of use out of it. I think it's beautiful, blends great. Then I'm going to go in with the Spectrum A12 and then blend a third colour just to deepen up things a little bit. This is a nice Spectrum brush. This is one of the ones that didn't break on me and start loosening, so that's good. And then I'm going to go on with the other Morphe brush I love. I use every single day, like the rest of them. The E36. This is a domed brush. This is what I use to apply really deep colours in the outer corner to blend, and then blend them out with the previous blender brushes. We'll go over that in a minute. I do have another one here, which is the BH Cosmetics number 10. This is also like a stampy brush, but I may not have to use it today. But I'm going to get it out anyway, just to be safe. I'll talk about lower lash line brushes later. To apply my lid colour, lately I've been doing it with a pencil brush. This is the Morphe M431. Absolutely love this, use this every day. I use this to apply my nose highlight as well. Even though I have been using a different brush for that lately, so we'll be talking about that because here it is. The Real Techniques Pixel Point Eyeliner Brush. This is tiny whiny. I use this to highlight my brow bone and my nose and my, what's that called? Cupid's bow. But I will use this later to apply my inner corner highlight. And for lower lash line, I've been using the EcoTools double-ended brush. I've been using this really intense side to apply, and I've been using this one to smudge it out. So as always, we're going to use the Avon brush cleaner. I recommend this all the time. It's about £5 full price, goes down to £3.50 sometimes. Highly recommend it. It's just some AstroTurfy kind of material. If any of you played football on AstroTurf when you were in school, you know exactly what this feels like. Whew, I sprinted down those stairs. You can tell I'm ridiculously unfit and huge, can't you? So I'm just gonna give my brushes a nice wipe off. A good way to tell if the brush is really clean is wipe it off like this and then rub it on your hand to see if any pigment comes off, because we don't want pigment getting into the other colours and getting us a muddy blend, because that would make me cry, to be honest. My brushes are so red at the moment because I did Pennywise makeup for Halloween, which I really wanted to record and show you guys, but of course the camera wasn't charged and I completely forgot about it, so I had to just do it and go. So what we're going to do, to begin, this is the shade I always use as my transition. I've used it every single time. So this is the shade Morgan. This is a gorgeous, perfect, pure peach colour. So I'm going to pick that up on the Morphe M433 brush, just dip in a couple of times, tap it off. As you can see, there isn't a ton of kit back in the pan, but they are powdery eyeshadows. This one in particular has a lot of fallout, but are they beautiful? And am I willing to go with a tiny bit of fallout for a perfect blend? Oh yes, yes, yes. But as you can see, it's not horrific. I've had way worse fallout from eyeshadows in the past. So let's get to blending. I'm going to blend this in my mirror that you can't see. So what I'm going to do, what I used to do is just blend all the way across. What I'm going to do is start placing the colour here and then blend it into the inner. So then most of the colour payoff and the colour saturation is out here. And I'll show you what I do on this side, and then when I go to the other one I'll just like skip through it or speed up and play music as I always do. But we're just going to start placing the colour here and start windshield wiper motioning it into place. And it doesn't really matter if you're like extremely neat at this step, but getting the colour on is the main thing, and start dragging out for a little bit of a winged effect. Not too severe. I've stopped doing very severe wings lately because it just doesn't look that good. Like, I think the problem with the way I was doing my severe wings was that I was getting full pigment all the way out, whereas what you should do really is windshield wiper it like this, and then just sort of drag it out really lightly to get a really blown out, winged out effect. Because I have had people ask me in the past, oh, how do you do your eyes? So that's why I'm going to go really in on explaining the eyeshadow today, because a lot of people want to know. I was wearing this exact look to work last week, and a lady said to me, oh my god, I love your eyeshadow. And I was like, oh, thank you. Like, you have no idea how much it makes my day when people say things like that to me, because I'm still such a novice when it comes to makeup. So, like, yeah, I am at a point where I can explain things to you, but I'm still very much a novice. Like, I am no means a makeup artist. I can't do other people's makeup. Like, I probably could if I tried, but I'd have to try a couple of times. If you guys want to see me do my mother's makeup and her do my makeup in our own specific styles, then please let us know, because we'd love to do that. That'll be a really fun video. That can be part of our mother and son makeup series. So here's what we're getting so far. As you can see, you get great colour payoff. You don't really have to dip into the eyeshadow as much. You get a ton of payoff from them, as you saw in the swatches as well, because this is one of the ones that swatches really good. So then we're going to tap back in a couple more times. Now, something I'd recommend you do, what a lot of people do is, because they're frugal with their eyeshadow, they don't want to waste it, even though eyeshadow will last you plenty of time as long as you don't wear it 3 times a day. They go in plenty on the brush, tap it off, and then do both eyes with it. Don't do that. tap in like the 3-4 times, tap it off, do your one eye, really blend that out for filth, then go back in and do it again, because otherwise you're not going to get a perfect equal blend on either side. One side's going to be more saturated than the other, and then you might overblend the other side trying to get it to look like that side, and it can go muddy and all sorts of things like that. So just make sure that whatever process you do with this side, whether that be applying it to the brush and then applying it to the face, do it this side as well. And of course we started there on this side, so we're going to start here on this side. So we're going to place it a little bit, and then we're going to start windshield wiper motions. Windshield wiper, what am I on about? Circular motions. I would always recommend starting with circular motions because that's how you disperse the product. And then when you actually start to like apply it onto the inner a little bit, then windshield wiper, because we don't want it to apply as heavy on the inner corner area, as we want this to be a more elongated eye rather than a fuller, fatter eye. So again, same thing, start winging it out a little bit. Feel free at this point to like clean it up with your finger if you get any, if you get a little bit of transfer or anything like that. A lot of people just want to go on boop 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 and then be done. It'll work sometimes, but what my recommendation to get really, like a lot of people say, oh, I'm crap at eyeshadow, but you need to be patient with eyeshadow. This is the thing. Everyone can do eyeshadow, everyone can do most things. You just gotta try and you gotta practice. But what a lot of people I think fail to do with eyeshadow is just continually blend it and just make sure it looks perfect, make sure it looks seamless. A lot of people will just do it a couple of times, be like, yeah, that looks fine, but and then later on they're like, oh, I'm so bad at eyeshadow. No, you're not bad at eyeshadow. You're just not patient with eyeshadow. You just need to have a little bit more patience with it, which is why I recommend doing it at the beginning of the makeup tutorial, because then at least the part you have to focus the most on and spend the most time on, usually brows and eyes, anything eyes basically, is done and out of the way, and they can just throw your base on and go, which is what I do every day. Like if I only have half an hour to do my makeup in the morning, I don't put eyeshadow on usually. I'll just chuck one crease colour and one lid colour and go. But if I have time, I will do this. I will do the full shebang, you know what I mean? Like I will do the full glam. But I do recommend having at least like 10 to 15 minutes to spend on eyeshadow itself if you want, like, especially when you're going out. Give yourself up to half an hour. Like I know it can be frustrating, but taking it slow and just really, really working it into the eyes, working it into the socket is the way to go. Like that's what you've got to do. And so as you can see, we've got a nice even colour payoff on both sides. We've got a nice winged out shape. So that's it for our transition shade. Don't wipe the brush off because we will use the little bit of excess that's on there later to do a little bit of cleaning up. So now we're going to go in with our Morphe M506 brush, the tapered blender for hooded eyes, and we're going to go into a deeper colour. So I'm going to go into the colour Carnelian. I absolutely love this colour. This is a pure mustard. And as some of you know, I'm not a big fan of mustard, but lately I've been obsessed with it and I don't understand where it's coming from. As you can see, I get plenty of kickback on that shade, but boy is this a good shade. The blend on this is so good. So what we're going to do is we're going to start again where we had the most colour payoff, and we're just going to tuck it into there and then start circular motioning it through our previous colour. It's kind of like if you look in the mirror and you see where the colour starts and where the colour stops, go halfway. So it's half on the colour, half off the colour. So then we're blending partially over the transition to give ourselves a seamless blend between the two in a gradient, but we're also bringing the colour down as well and structuring our eye how we want it. So I'm again not going to take too much into the inner corner area yet because I want our inner corner itself and the lid colours to really accentuate the inner corner, but as you can see that's just deepening it up and giving us a nice extra colour payoff. I'm going to bring you in so you can see the difference. I'm probably going to do that a little bit for the eyeshadow portion of the video because even though our lighting is better than normal, it's still hard to see the exact colour that we're getting. So once again, do the same on the other side. We're going to go back in and blend some more, don't worry. I'm not done yet. Place the colour and then circular motions to blend. It's also recommended to slightly wing this colour out as well, but you don't have to if you don't want to. And make sure when you're looking at yourself in the mirror when you're doing this part in particular, because this is the bit where you need to do probably the most blending, because this is the colour that needs to blend into the other one. Just look at it, and if there's parts where you can see a harsh line, go right to that area and you say, not today, Satan, and then you blend over it and just go for it. Just really go at it. If you're still having trouble, go in with your Morphe M433 or whatever brush you used to apply your transition in the first place and then blend over it again. there's a multitude of brushes you can use for this kind of thing. If you have really deep set eyes, you can even use like thinner face brushes that you'd use to like blend out your nose contour or something to do heavy eye blending, because that's one of the reasons why I don't buy eye brushes in sets and I just buy them per brush. Because I have such hooded eyes, I need specific brushes, but I find in eye sets they always chuck humongous, massive blenders in there. And I'm like, unless you have the deepest set eyes in the universe, like, you know, as deep as a cave or something, is this not going to happen? Like, it's never going to work? Or if you have no eyebrows and you want to take your eyeshadow all the way up, and if that's the case, hell yes! All the power to you, Miss Thing. You can even blend like this if you want. It's like windshield wipers, but in a V shape instead. Of course, it is personal discretion when you feel like you're done and when you feel like you're happy with the blend that you've achieved, and when you can move on to the next step. And also, you don't have to have this eyeshadow palette to do this look. Many palettes have like sunset colours and all that sort of stuff. Just find your nearest peach, your nearest yellowy, mustardy colour and get blending. Or come up with your own colour system where you start with the lightest and blend down into the darkest. That's the easiest way to create like sunrise, sunset looks. You can do a sunset look with this palette because there is a pure yellow, and that's one of the only colours in the palette I haven't actually used yet. But I am going to do that in the future. Let's repeat that process. And that's all it's about, guys, really. It's just, you know, back and forth. Blend, 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 blend. Like, the most important word when it comes to eyeshadow is blend, blend, blend. Like, I can't stress it enough. That's why it's my favourite part of the routine, because you can start with something so simple and build yourself into something so magnificent and so complex. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to take one dip, and I mean the tiniest dip of Morgan, our original transition shade. I'm even going to tap a bit off on my hand, and then I'm going to go right above what we just applied, and I'm just going to circular motions, blend over it, just to ensure that it's completely seamless and we don't have horrible lines. See if you can guess what YouTuber I was referencing when I said that. That was the ugliest wink I've ever done in my entire life. I can never do a wink. I don't know if this is just me, guys, but I can never do a wink without like my face actually moving. Like I can't do a wink without like moving my face. Right, so there's our initial application on both sides. So that's the main bulk of the blending done. We've just got some more colours to apply now. Now what you could do in theory now is just put the dark colour here on the outer edge and then lid colour done. But I'm going to do two, because I have to be extra, you know what I'm like. So I'm going to take a much fatter blending brush now, but still a pretty small one. This one's actually meant for lower lash line, but I don't like big brushes like this for the lower lash line. So this is a Spectrum A12 brush, not a brush I recommend, but something similar to this, like a small blender that is tapered, but not as ridiculously skinny as this one, something a bit fatter. And I'm going to go into the red colour. Well, it's like an orangey red. It's called Jasper. This is a beautiful colour, but this one is extremely pigmented, as you can see on the brush. So we're going to tap that shit off, put a bit on our hands, and what we're going to do is, we're not going to go right deep into the socket, but we're going to go almost there, and just on the very outer bit here. See where I am? Right there. So not quite deep, but we're just going to start circular motions, get that colour into the outer edge. This is just for depth purposes, so don't take it any further than about here, than from the middle of the eye, I would say. This is just to make sure you deepen things up. And colours like this, as you can see, look how easy that was to blend. Like, I could stop there and be happy. I'm going to blend it more, but you don't have to, because that's how great these eyeshadows are. They blend like a dream. Every time I've worn it, my mom's been like, oh my god, that blend is so good. And then I'm like, remember, this is $60, it's the £60 eyeshadow palette I bought. She's like, oh, and she's like, a fit. And we are going to start to get subtle definition on the outer edge of the eye there. And let's do the same thing on the other side. A colour like this is so rich in pigment that it actually doesn't even tap off the brush, whereas Carnelian's way more powdery but also really pigmented. This one is one of those ones which, once it's on the brush, it ain't going anywhere. Do you know what I mean? So let's do the same on the other side. Right there, and start packing in windshield wiper motions to about halfway. And again, it's a similar thing to last time. You're sort of half on the carnelian mustard colour and half below it, almost to your crease. And this is how we can start. This is how you start constructing a socket, basically. We're doing advanced eyeshadow here, but with very easy techniques. And what I used to do was take it all the way in. I used to take all the colours all the way in, but the problem with taking them all the way in like that is that you don't get a gradient of colour that way. You just get the same colour all the way through, and it's very boring. But what we can do with this instead is get a beautiful gradient of colour from lightest to darkest, and which is very easy to see. Like the initial colour we laid down is just more a base than anything, and you're not going to see much of that once all this is on. We're going to see mostly the red and the carnelian. Oh my god, brush is flying across the room. So here's what we're working with so far. As you can see, these eyeshadows are absolutely gorgeous, especially if this is your kind of colour story, because it's very much my kind of colour story, then this is your kind of palette. Do you know what I mean? If you're going to afford to splurge on an eyeshadow palette, this is one I do highly recommend. And another thing I like about it, the packaging is beautiful and it's also magnetized, so it's very, very easy to work with. So now what we're going to do is we're going to go in with the deepest shade of all, which is Clove. This is a stunning plummy, burgundy-y kind of colour. So we're going to take our domed brush, the Morphe 36, or you could use something else that's very similar to this. If you have any of the Naked Cherry palettes, then you can use the one end of the brush, which is very similar to this, but it's a lot sharper than this. And we're just going to tap into the colour 3 or 4 times, and then we're going to tap it off. This is another one of those very rich in pigment, isn't going to go anywhere, probably won't tap off, but still, do it anyway for consistency. And what we're going to do is go to the very outer corner here, and we're going to start placing the colour on, and on the very outer part of the lid. So let's stamp it on. See where I am here? Start stamping it and rubbing it into there. And this is the part where you're going to have to go in and you're going to have to do it a couple of times. Because even though these colours are extremely pigmented, when you start blending them, then of course they'll sheer out as any eyeshadow would. Well, I say sheer out, look how pigmented that is already, but you know what I mean. This is something you're going to have to keep repeating until you get a really nice definition. And this, I wouldn't even take it past the quarter or the third line of your eye. Like if your eye was in thirds, that'd be a first third, that'd be a second, and that'd be a third. Just stay in the first third of the eye. And really, really work that in. You can do some stamping motions on the lid as well to make sure you have a nice definition on the lid. Really, really windshield wiper motion it into the crease. Or the socket, should I say. We're past the crease now, we're into the socket. And now we're going to bring it down a little bit into the outer edge. I'm not going to do the outer edge much yet because I want to actually get all our base on before we get into that. But and there we are, I'm happy with that side for now. We'll come back to that later because we do lower lash line way later in the tutorial. Once again, another 3 dips, go onto this side. You probably, I would say, you'll have to build it up and swipe 2 to 3 times on this step, no matter how pigmented the eyeshadows are, even with like Anastasia pigments, which can be even overly pigmented at times. I absolutely love their eyeshadows, they are beautiful, but sometimes they're so pigmented that they disperse and you're like, oh shit. So make sure that when you're using an extremely pigmented eyeshadow, especially like this one, be really, really careful with this step, because it can very easily drag into the rest of the colour that you've applied. And what's good about us doing our eyes first is that we can always rectify that by wiping it away with a makeup wipe or some concealer or something. But we don't really want to disturb the amazing blend that we've got, because then we're going to have to go back in and do some patchwork and reblend over it, which I never recommend doing that. As you can see, we've got a nice definition on the outer edge for now, and we're going to leave it there for now. Now we're going to go in and do our lid ready. So, there's a multitude of things I could do with the lid with a look like this. I could do something really bright, I could do a purple, I could do a gold. I think I'm probably going to do the gold because that's one of my favourite shades in the whole palette, and I'm going to save the red glitter I was talking about earlier for something a bit more special. But this is the shade here, this is shade Agape. Now this is an absolutely stunning colour, and this is also an incredibly pigmented colour. So I would recommend just 1 or 2 scrapes in with your pencil brush. As you can see, it's absolutely saturated on there. And something I love about these eyeshadows in particular, this isn't a thing that an eyeshadow has to have for me to like it, because I don't mind wetting the brush if need be, but you don't have to wet most of these. These are so intense that they go on stunning as they are. Let's just show you a little bit of application. Look at that, look at the shine, look at the reflection. I wouldn't recommend pulling your eye down to do this because it will age you, but I have to because my eyes are so hooded it'll transfer into my crease if I don't. Oh, look at that, look how easy that was, look how beautiful that is. I love this colour so much. This is one of the best colours in the palette, this is one of the best golds I own. I would say the top 3 best golds I own is this one, Agape. I can't remember what the colour's called in the Jawbreaker palette, but there is a yellow gold metallic in there, which is absolutely stunning. And there's one in the BH Cosmetics, what's that palette called? The Zodiac 2 Love Signs palette. There's a gold in there, which is absolutely intense as well. And that's the other gold that I absolutely love. There's a really pretty gold in one of the Anastasia palettes as well, but it has so much fallout that it's like, oh my god. So let's go into the other eye. I'm putting this right into the inner corner, if anyone's wondering. We are going to put something in the actual inner corner after. But I didn't want to do a multicoloured lid today because I'm doing something a bit more different with the glitter today. Also, has anyone seen the Tati Beauty palette? As you all know, I absolutely love Tati Westbrook. Her and Jeffree Star in particular are my two biggest inspirations when it comes to makeup. I love Nikki Tutorials as well. I don't watch her as much as the other two, but I do absolutely love her as well. She's the one who got me into doing this blending technique, like putting things on, not worrying if it's a bit messy, and then going back in and blending things through. She's the person who got me into and got me better at doing things, so I highly recommend her, especially for that purpose. But I love Tati so much, she's fantastic. And her palette looks amazing. Like, it's a very, very unique idea, I think, to do 5 colours in 4 different finishes and have that be the palette. I think that's really, really cool. So now, once we've applied that, we have a beautiful colour payoff. We're going to go back in with the super dark colour Clove on our domed brush and just reapply over the line to make sure that it's not so harsh and that we didn't lose some of that beautiful darkness on the edge of our eye, because that can definitely happen when you're applying metallic. It can very easily fluff into the depth on your outer edge. So let's go back into that outer edge and just re-stamp the colour on, re-blend it through. Don't worry about it being too neat for now, because we're going to have to go back in later anyway. And there we go. That's the eye look so far. Let's bring you in to see. As you can see, those colours are absolutely stunning. That gold is just, oh, so beautiful. Right, so next, let's begin on the skin. So primer. So I'm going to talk about 2 different things here. So I bought 2 new primers recently, both by the brand The Ordinary. So I bought the High Spreadability Fluid Primer. We showed these off in our haul, and I'm here to report if I like them or not. And that one's a dropper. This one's a more hydrating primer, and we also have the High Adherence Silicone Primer. I use this every single day. I absolutely love this one so much. I wish they did this one in a bigger size because I'm almost out already and I'm going to have to buy a new one soon. This is very much like the Benefit Professional. In my opinion, it's as good as the Benefit Professional, so there is no need to buy the Benefit Professional because this is £3.90. So when the Benefit Professional is £27.50. As much as I love it, and I do love the Benefit Professional, this is the sheet. And this one, the High Spreadability Fluid, is £5.90, I think. I was using both at the beginning. I do think that's a little unnecessary. I think you can get away with just using this one, but lately I have noticed my forehead has been a little bit drier than normal. So I'm going to use this one today and from now on, just on my forehead area to give myself a bit of extra moisturisation. As you all know, I love the Ordinary's moisturiser as well. The high moisturising factors one you can get in 30 or 100 ml. I absolutely love that. That's one of the best moisturisers ever, that is. Okay, that was way too much. But I put a nice dollop of it there. This is the Adherence Silicone, this is, and a nice bit there. Something else I've been doing differently, which I've never ever done before. So what I like to do is I like to moisturise it in first, but then really, really tap it into the pores so that they're nice and full. Normally, what I always did before was I always put a primer like this on my nose because my nose has quite pronounced pores. But lately I have not been doing that because I started to notice that whenever I put a silicone primer on my nose, that the foundation always ended up sliding off and slip sliding by the end of the day, and it never lasted as long as when I didn't put silicone primer on my nose. So in fact, I'm not putting any primer on my nose anymore because even though it always comes off my nose first no matter what, I do find it's not quite so bad when I don't prime my nose. So I'm not priming my nose anymore. And if any of you have that problem where you use a really intense primer like this on your nose, just try doing it without primer one day and just see if it makes a difference. Like, it's probably still going to come off. I'm not going to say that doing that's going to change your life, because it won't. But it could improve things a little bit. So the other one has a very moisturizer, like really, really smooth texture. And this one you can just smooth in like a moisturizer. So what I like to do is just put it up here and just down the side of the temples here, because I am going to go in and do some intense blending work there later. So it's nice to get my skin prepared, and I like to put a nice big coat of this on, because something I've always talked about with makeup. Yes, restraint is definitely the way to go with some things, but don't be afraid to use a lot of product, because at the end of the day, you didn't buy a product to use the tiniest bit of it that won't really make much of a difference. You bought a product to make you feel happy about yourself, to make yourself feel a bit more perfect, a bit more refined. Even though you are beautiful as you are, there's nothing wrong with wanting to look better. Do you know what I mean? There is nothing wrong with that. In fact, more power to you. I think it's fantastic. That's why I wear makeup every single day. I wear it to work, and I absolutely love it, and I feel much better about myself for it. So that's the tea on that. So my main keep in the box. Bye. I am going to keep the box for this though, because I like to keep this foundation upright, because I don't have a pump for this, because the pump was like £6, and I'm just like, I won't pay £6 for a pump, even though I did pay £4 for the pump on this one. This is the MAC Studio Fix Fluid. I use this every single day. This is my work foundation. Quite an expensive foundation for work, but this is brilliant. I absolutely love this. If you haven't tried MAC foundation and you've always wanted to, highly recommend it. It's a glass bottle, and it controls oil. It's got a little bit of SPF in it, but it didn't irritate me, even though a lot of SPFs do irritate me, so I think whatever SPF they're using must be quite subtle in this. It's a beautiful colour. They got a really good shade range. You can go into any MAC store or Debenhams, I would assume, because they sell MAC as well, that and they shade match you as well. I do love this, and I find that this, unlike a lot of foundations, lasts a hell of a long time. Like I wear this every day and it's still going, and I've had this months and months and months. My first bottle lasted me 11 months, I think. That for some reason this is so thick, when you get a full pump out, it's not really a lot, and it just seems to last a lot longer, whereas I think this won't last me as long, but I don't wear it as often. All I use this for is YouTube videos and for when I go out. So this is, in my opinion, the best foundation on the market that I've ever used. So this is the Estee Lauder Double Wear Foundation. Now, something I want to tell you all about this. Some people have used this foundation way in the past and they thought it was awful, really cakey, disgusting, hated it. They have reformulated it, which I don't know if a lot of people know that it's been reformulated, and because when they expanded the shade range a mental amount, they also reformulated it a lot as well, and it's not, I don't find it cakey at all. Like, you just got to be careful with how much you put on. Now this is a absolutely beautiful foundation. As you can tell, the packaging is beautiful, of course. It's Estee Lauder, what do you expect? This is a whopping £34.50, the MAC is £27, but this is worth every penny, same as the MAC one. I find with this, I've never known a foundation to work the way this one does. When you start applying it, it like hugs your skin almost, and you barely have to blend it in. You do have to blend, of course. We don't have to blend as much as any other foundation I've ever used. This clings to you like a mask, and it does not move. It doesn't budge. This is the only foundation that doesn't fully break apart on my nose by the end of the day. Like, it still wears down, of course, as any makeup product will. But it controls oil, it's sweat-proof, humidity resistant, all that good stuff. It's water resistant as well. It's transfer-proof, doesn't come off. And I absolutely love this product. So what I do when I don't have a pump, and this is a tip for all of you, is I take the bottle and I take it on its side, and I get the smallest amount out, like so, and I stop. I pull it up. So that's all the product I'm going to use, which is probably the equivalent of the 2.5 pumps of any other foundation I normally use. As you can tell, I use a lot less foundation than I used to. What I do now, these days, is I'll take the bulk of the foundation that's on my hand and I'll take it on the Beauty Blender, which we're going to talk about in a minute, which is actually a beauty blender for once. And I'm going to stamp the majority onto my cheeks. As you can see, it's a bit darker than my MAC one, but I don't mind it. I'm not like offended. I have a lot of redness in my skin, so I like foundations on the yellow tone to cancel that out, because I haven't got time for colour corrector and I can't be bothered to buy another product. I'd rather just use a foundation that's yellow to begin with. And I'm going to stamp the rest over here and take it up into the forehead and down the centre there, and then I'm going to take the rest of it and then work around the chin and mouth area and a tiny bit on the nose. So that's what I've been doing lately, is I've been doing one full pump to do this entire side of the face, one full pump for this entire side, and half a pump for this bottom area here. I am going to have to use more today because I need to go down my neck as well, but yes, I've bought a beauty blender. My mother actually bought this, but she gave it to me and I'm going to buy her one back because she hasn't used it. She hasn't been using it. This is the Violet Swirl, but of course it's covered in foundation, so it just looks like brown swirl at the minute. Absolutely amazing. I've always raved and raved. I'm going to start blending before I lose my blend. I've always raved about the Real Techniques foundation sponge, well, blending sponge, which is a great blender and it is really cheap. This is £17.50, whereas the other one is like a £5, but I do notice a difference. I'm not going to lie to you and say, because if this was crap and I thought that the other one was way better value for money, then I'd tell it, because I've told you before that some expensive makeup is crap, but when it works, and I will rebuy it. Do you know what I mean? That's my philosophy on things. If I can afford it and I like it, I will rebuy it. As you can see, it just blends like butter, the foundation, and it clings to your face and it looks so good. But obviously if you do your eyes first, be super careful when you start blending up towards it. Try and follow the line that you created. Try and follow the wing that you created. But anyway, the blending sponge. The difference I noticed was, it's a lot softer for one. And it just gives you such a perfect blend. Because even though it sucks up a little bit of product, I almost feel like it sucks up the right amount of product. To where the blend you get as a result is perfection. Like, absolutely gorgeous. So let's get some of that onto the beauty blender and let's start blending it down. Start blending it down the neck. Of course, I'm blending this into my stubble. So of course, if you do this, if you are a man in makeup like me and you're blending it into your stubble, obviously if you have full beard, don't do that. But just use your beard as a contour line like I always used to. But if you are more on the clean shaven side, you just have stubble like this, blend it down into your neck, but make sure you double or triple cleanse at the end of the day. Use multiple micellar water pads to get rid of it into your beard, because it's a bit more of a coarse area, so you really have to, you know, go at it a little bit. But then make sure you heavily moisturize afterwards, because the area can become quite inflamed and I've had a skin problem as a result. So make sure that you are thorough. Beauty is pain after all. So here is the overall level of coverage we're getting from the foundation. This is a powder This is a foundation you do need to powder down. It's not purely matte, it's more on a demi-matte sort of side of things. But I absolutely love its formula. It's not dewy, so that's good, but you do need to powder it down, I find. Just to make it chill out a little bit. But of course, if you are going to powder down a foundation, make sure it's a shade that can work for you, even if it oxidizes a bit. This doesn't really oxidize, but any foundation will darken when you powder it down, so keep that in mind. But of course, if it's a foundation that does oxidize, then make sure it's even lighter before you powder it down. But yeah, there's the beginning of our base laid down. Now we're going to go into concealer, and I talked about this in the last video lately. This is the second one of these I'm on already, because I go through concealer like it's nothing. So this is the Maybelline Age Rewind Concealer. I'm really back into this at the minute. This was one of the first concealers I ever used, but I always thought that the shade range was way too dark and it was never light enough for me. It was too yellow, because I don't like a yellow concealer. I like my concealer to be not white, but really pale, like off-white, like an off-white neutral. I like it to be neutral. This is neutral. This is 00 Ivory, and I absolutely love this concealer. I hate the applicator so much. It's so messy. It's really easy to get it on, don't get me wrong, but I hate how messy it is, and it really pisses me off how it sticks into the sponge. You twist it and you get product in the sponge. So as always, the amount of concealer I apply has not changed. So we're going to do what we always do, and we're going to create a triangle, flick out sort of thing. We're going to take it down into the nose as well, and down below the chin, down by the Cupid's bow, which I never used to do that before. That's a new thing I've been doing as well. I definitely prefer doing that. As you can see as well, I've also nipped the nose down both sides with it. I highly recommend doing that. Then I go down the center of the nose. I'll explain why in a minute. And then a dot on the edge of the nose, a couple of dots on the chin, and a little ring on the forehead. So I've been doing things very differently. So here's something I've never done in any of my old videos, and that is cream contouring. And I cream contour both my nose and my face now. So I'm not going to do face cream contouring yet, but I'm going to cream contour my nose at the same time I conceal it. And I find lately that's been the best way to get a really natural, nice nose contour. So for nose contouring and all contouring, I'm going to do it in this video. I'm going to use the Barry M Flawless Chisel Cheeks Contour Kit. And here is the inside of the kit. I haven't used any of the shades at the top because I'm not about concealer in a pan. I'd rather be an actual concealer like this. And I'm going to take either one of these two shades. It doesn't really matter. This one's more on the bronzy tone. This one is more contoury. So I'm going to take the one in the middle and just put it on the Spectrum A13, which is originally actually a packer brush for the eyes, but I prefer to use packer brushes to apply my contour. And what I'm just going to do is just apply the contour line like that. Take it a little bit into the eye like that, and then go back in. Remember, don't use the whole amount of product for both sides because you won't get an even amount. And we're just sort of following where we just put the concealer, as you can see. So now what we're going to do, and that's literally it. You don't have to make nose contouring really tricky. Of course, I've drawn this line a lot of times in the past. It might take a bit of getting used to get that line perfect. But I need to start blending, otherwise this is going to go wrong. Luckily, the Maybelline Age Rewind Concealer blends like butter. And literally takes no effort to blend at all. I really want to try the Jeffree Star Magic Star Concealer. I'm definitely going to be buying that Christmas time when everything on Beauty Bay goes on offer. Another thing you have to be really careful of, I'd say, guys, as well, when you're blending out concealer. Of course, you can obviously ruin the lines, but I'll just re-blend over that, so it's fine. But you can very easily, if you're not careful, when you're doing the inner corner highlight, when you're doing the inner corner concealer, you can take it into the lid and accidentally ruin your lid, so be careful. Blend out the chin, blend out the forehead. Obviously be super careful you don't get this into the brows, because I'm sure a lot of people wouldn't really mind having to re-go over their brows, but I very much do. I like the brows to be, once they're done, I don't want them to move. And now we're going to blend just the contour lines with the tip of the brush. See what I'm doing? Alright guys, so now we need to go in and set the face. I had a bit of a problem with the lighting off camera. It just sort of stopped filming properly and I was like, what's going on? So now I'm back. So we're going to use loose powder, which is what I always do. So I've used this a lot on my channel in the past. This is the Rimmel Match Perfection powder. I've got a lot of people onto this because this is a very, very good powder. I did have a bit of a falling out with it because I found that it was clinging to the inside of my nose a little bit whenever I used it. And it still does that. But as long as I'm careful around that area, the set it gives on the rest of the face is absolutely beautiful and the rest will brush away. But careful, because it can cling on the very inner parts of your nose here. I was using the L'Oreal, this is True Something. It's not True Match, it's True Something. Yeah, True Match, I think that's it. Loose powder, which is a blue powder. I showed that in a previous video. That one is great, but you get such a little amount of product for the price you pay for £10. This is £7, and you get twice as much. Is it twice as much? Oh no, you get 10 grams in this, you get 6 grams in the other one. So you still get quite a bit more in this one. But I just find that this one sets it better. It's much fattier and thicker. It's not as finely milled. It's way, way harder to get the other one onto the sponge. Because the way I like to bake, guys, is take the loose powder. I like to literally take the sponge in it. I got this from Jeffree Star, so it's absolutely covered. And then just press it into everywhere we used concealer, as you can see. So this is really, really messy, so make sure. Another tip I have for you all is don't do your makeup when you're dressed, because makeup is extremely messy. And when you're doing the nose, just a very, very tip, and go down the center like that. Just to make sure you don't highlight over any of the contour, because this is also a brightening powder. It does brighten. This is a beautiful powder though. I find that unlike the True Match L'Oreal one, this one actually blurs pores a little bit as well. I don't think the L'Oreal one is meant to do that, but I just prefer the way that this one does that. So I'm going to leave that on for a couple of minutes and we're going to start the cream contour process. So I pinched this brush off my mother, so you know, thanks to my mother for that. This is the Real Techniques rounded contour brush. What I was doing for a while was I was using that tiny whiny brush I was contouring my nose with to contour my cheeks as well, but it didn't give me enough of an effect to really matter. So I stopped doing that and now I'm going to start using this brush. And for my cheeks, I always go in with this middle shade here, because this one I find is way too warm and way too red, and this one is too bronzer-like. So I'd rather use the bronzery one for the nose and use this, and just really, really tap in there, get plenty on the brush. And you don't even need to put some on your hand, really. Just, what you can either do is you can go down or you can pat it down. So it doesn't really matter. I like to just go straight in like this. And take it right up to the ear. Now that looks really scary. Like, I bet you just saw that and you'll be like, oh my god, he just ruined everything. Don't worry, we'll blend it out. And this, as you could see when I did the nose, this stuff shears out an incredible amount, which is what you need really for a good cream contour, because if it doesn't shear out a lot, then you're gonna ruin your face and you're gonna have to put foundation over it. So I'm just following the natural, like, contoury beard line and going up to where the end of my cheekbone is, because that's where my cheekbone begins and ends. It's not perfectly even on both sides because my beard isn't, but it doesn't really matter. We're also going to take a little bit of this into the jaw as well. I don't have much of a jaw, like this is where the jawline on me is, but of course there's too much fat there to be able to actually see it. So I'm going to use the powder to start sculpting it in. Nice, similar process. As you can see, that is where my typical jawline actually is. Oops. We're going to take, guess what, the Beauty Blender. These are very good tools, you'll use them for everything. And just take the end you used with foundation and just start really, really working it into the cheek. And as you can see, that's already shearing out amazingly. But of course, we actually want there to be a contour line, so that's the thing with contouring. It's like, how much do you use, how much do you blend it? If you feel like you went in with a bit too much, you can go over with some loose powder if necessary, just to really, really mattify it down and make it chill out. This is also a good time to do this because it'll allow your face to bake a little bit, because I don't like to leave my bake on too little where it does nothing, or too long where it dries you out. So this is a good step to do in between. And as you can see, we're getting a nice cut. We're getting a nice cut. Of course, because I have a lot of stubble, and if any of you have stubble, you've got to really blend it into the stubble, because otherwise the line will be very, very intense, which it will still be intense, depending on how much product you used, but this is where you're going to really have to blend it. If you've gone into your jawline like I did, you're just going to have to really go for it. And as we can see, we got a really, really nice blend, because that cream contour blends very, very well. The line you're seeing there is not the contour, that's my actual beard line, which there's nothing we can do about. But again, I don't think it looks bad. We've got a really nice cut cheek, we've got a cut jaw. We actually have a jawline around our chin for once. And that's all the blending we're going to do for now. We might go over and do some more blending later, but I think that's enough for now. Now we're going to take a new brush I've been using that I absolutely love. This is a BH Cosmetics #1. This is a huge, large powder brush, and this is what I use to dust off my bake, because the bake has been on well and truly long enough. So we're just going to dust over all the places that we used baking powder, even though, well, loose powder, but I always call it baking powder, and just get rid of it. And another thing you can do then with the excess, that's on this brush, just really go over all the areas that we just applied contour to, just to really nip it all in. And now what we're going to do is set the contour through with a powder product. So what we're going to use is a powder bronzer. So when I use cream contour, I don't particularly like to set with Hoola, even though this is one of my favourite bronzers ever. I find that setting the contour with this can be a little bit too harsh, because Hoola is quite warm. So I like to use the Physicians Formula Butter Bronzer. Absolutely love this product. Now this is a product I highly recommend. Hula's 25. I do highly recommend that. You get a lot of product. Same with this, you get a lot of product. You get 11 grams, so you get way more than you get in the Hula. And this is £14. Oh, it smells amazing. It smells like beachy coconut sand waves. Like it just smells like holiday. And what I love about this product is that it's not extremely pigmented to the point where you're like, oh shit, what have I done? It's really, really forgiving. You can just keep going and going and blending and blending and blending. You get such a beautiful hue of colour. So what I like to do is and just set it through. What I'm going to do now is load up the brush with a hell of a lot more extra product. This is the Real Techniques Dual Fibre brush, and I'm just going to start working it into the forehead and just down into the temples, which is why I primed the temples earlier. It's always good to prime every area, really, but I like to prime the temple area because I need to do some. This is quite harsh blending over the foundation, so. But don't worry, because this foundation performs really well when you blend things over it, so you don't really have to worry. As you can see, our eyeshadow is really standing out and looking a hell of a lot less insane now that we have powder products and cream products worked into our face. Alright, so this is the overall bronzing and the hue that we wanted to establish. And now I'm going to take the brush I'm probably going to use later for my lower lash line, the Eco Tools, and we're going to use this flat end here, and we're just going to dip a little tiny bit into it. We'll do 3, and then tap it off. And we're just going to graze the sides of the nose contours that we placed earlier. Just a really subtle, oops, wrong one. We don't want to go dark on one side, light on the other. Really subtle graze. And then as you can see, that just nips the nose in even more. And then just take the beauty blender and just go over that powder a little bit to once again soften it down. You're using this a ton in this tutorial. And there's that. So we're most of the way done, guys. We're going to go into blush next. So here's a very exciting part, another new part of the makeup routine I've been doing. I've been really loving blush lately, and I've been applying it completely differently and way more intensely because I have a really cool way of shearing it down and making it look better. So we're going to use the BH Cosmetics number 3 brush. This is my new favourite blush brush. As I've said in the past, I've had a lot of issues with the Real Techniques blush brush. I don't think it applies blush the right way. It doesn't disperse the product the way I need it to, so I use it more to like dust off bake or to powder contour sometimes. But this is the best blush brush. I recommend using something like this for blush because you can place and blend the brush, whereas with the other one you can only blend it on, and it's really subtle and overly sheer for my liking. What I'm going to take is the BH Cosmetics Nude Blush Palette. So I bought this in the past and I mentioned it in one of my very earliest videos. I'm going to show you this now. This is the palette right here. You have lots and lots of nude blushes and also some like shimmery blushes for deeper skin tones in the corner. I mainly stay in these 6 here. I don't really use the red one, but I use these 5. And I will do some swatches of this palette so you can see the colours in action. But what I like to do usually is mix this one, and this one, or this one and this one, and just really work them onto the brush. So what I'm going to show you is, here's the palette. I'm going to tap back, forth, back, forth, back, forth. So that's three pairs. Tap it off, put a bit on the hand, 1, 2, tap. And then what I'm going to do is, so a lot of people like to smile and do blush, but I've heard of John McClane recently that is the easiest way to make your blush go too low. So what you should do instead is just apply it where you want it and where you want the hue to be. So I like my blush to be here because I want it to be quite high. So I'm just going to pat it on in a circular-ish motion until I'm happy with the colour payoff. As you can see, these are beautiful blushes. They go on really nice. And then just do a very subtle swirl to start to blend it into the skin. Okay, that's it guys, we're done. No, don't worry, we're going to go out looking like a clown today. So, we've used everything that was on the brush, so once again, like I was saying earlier, go back in and do it again. 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2. Tap, tap. On the hand, 1, 2, tap. And then do the same thing on this side. Just place the blush, and then blend it a tiny bit into the contour and above. Kind of like what we were doing with our eyeshadow earlier, I suppose. So now we have the blush established and very strong. What we're then going to do, we're going to take our, you guessed it, beauty blender, and we're going to just basically go right over the blush to marry it to the skin and the contour so that we get a hue of colour and a gradient going from dark to light to pink to highlight, so that we don't look simple and so that everything really blends in together and you have a really nice seamless face. I've been loving doing this lately because it's allowed me to use way more blush and really enjoy the effect that blush gives. Because I want to be extra today, I'm also going to top my blush off with the Milani Baked Blush in Luminoso. This doesn't have much sheen to it because I'm not one for a sheeny blush, but it has a little bit, so I would like to just do it right on the apples of the cheek right there. As you can see, that just gives us a nice flush right on the end. 1, 2, 3, tap, 1, 2, 3, tap, just to shear it down, and then we're done. So I think that gives us a beautiful hue. You can't see where the blush starts and stops. It just looks like I have a beautiful flush to my cheeks, and I really like that, because the thing with me is I have a lot of redness and pigmentation in my skin, and I like to be able to control where I want that to actually be, and doing the blush this way allows me to control exactly where the redness is, not where my skin naturally has redness. So there's that. Now we're going to go on to highlighting, which is one of the last base steps. So we're going to take the brush I always use to highlight, the Real Techniques setting brush, and we're going to go into the, you guessed it, Jeffree Star Cosmetics Skin Frosting Ice Cold. So I'm going to finally show you how this applies. As you can see, this is an extremely soft product that fluffs absolutely everywhere. There is a ton of fallout to this, but you do get an absolute ton of product. I've used this almost every day since I've had it, and you can still see the star, and I've barely used anything. The pan is barely even got a dent in it, and a lot picks up on the brush. This is extremely pigmented and intense and beaming. So I'm going to do a swatch for you now. There's the colour there. It's not a pure white icy colour, it has gold in it as well. And as you can see, it's absolutely beaming, absolutely stunning. It's my kind of colour. I like an icy highlight. I've always preferred an icy highlight, or like a peachy ice cold pinky highlight. That's my realm. So what I'm going to do is just load up the brush with a ton, tap it off. As you can see, an absolute ton of fluff. One more, and we're just going to start applying it now. Oh, give me that glow, honey. So what I've been doing lately with my highlight is, again, completely different to what I used to. I just apply it in this line here down to about there, right towards the apple, and just in a circle here, and that's it for the cheeks. You get a ton of immediate payoff with these Jeffree Star ones. They're way more glittery than the Ofra ones I've showed you in the past. So I can't say if I prefer this to the Ofra one or not, because it's a completely different highlighting formula. If I want something more glittery, this is what I use. If I want something soft and buttery, I use the Ofra. I think they're on the same playing field. I couldn't say one is better than the other, because I think they're both beautiful. And as you can see, the effect on this is just absolutely beaming, absolutely stunning. So I like to swirl that into the skin and then really stipple it into place so it doesn't look too much like a line. It is always going to look like a line because I have textured skin, so there's not really a lot I can do. I don't think this one shows off that much texture. I've had a lot worse in the past. Like, as much as I love my sleek highlighting palette, that one shows off texture like no tomorrow. That one is so bad for that. Alright, so there's the glow to the cheeks. Now we're going to get a little bit on the brush, and we're not going to tap it off this time. We're just going to place it onto the chin, because I like my chin to glow. I also don't put highlighter on my forehead anymore, because I find that that makes me look too glistening, and to the point where I look dewy, and I don't want to look dewy. I do like a sheen, but it's a very specific kind of sheen. And there's, I'm going to explain that in the future, because there's a product I'm going to be purchasing soon, which apparently gives you that, and it's in the form of a face mist. So we'll talk about that in the future. Now we're going to take the product, and we're going to take the tiny, whiny little brush I was talking about earlier, the Real Techniques Pixel Point Eyeliner brush, and we're just going to dip into the product. We're not going to tap it off, because otherwise there'll be nothing left. And we're just going to go right into our brow bone here, and just start highlighting the brow bone with a lined and then circular motion. As you can see, that gives us a really nice glow to the highlight, and it also joins it into the little bit of highlight that we put there. Make sure both sides are even, and then we're just going to take the original brush we used to do what's that called? Transition color, and we're just going to blend over it just to make sure it's seamless and that it doesn't peek into the eyeshadow at all, just to make sure we've got a nice hue of color. Alright, and then we're going to take the Pixel Point eyeliner brush one more time, dip into the product again, really load the brush up, and we're just going to go right down the center to make our nose nice and skinny looking. You do have to be a bit careful when you do this step, because you can very easily make your nose look fatter than it needs to be. And I'm one for a glowing nose tip, so I like to apply a bit on the tip. As you can see, we get a nice glow down the nose. We're also going to place the inner corner now, because we can. So the easiest way to do inner corner for me is to do it as if it's like a bracket, I suppose, or a parenthesis if you're in America. So it's kind of just colour it in like this, but try not to take it too much. As you can see, that really accentuates the inside of the eye. So we're going to do the same on the other side. And then we're going to also place the Cupid's bow now as well. And the reason I put so much on the Cupid's bow to begin with is because some of that's going to be covered up with lip liner in the future anyway. And I can't be bothered to put highlighter over once the lipstick is drying. Alright, so there's the highlighting process done, and there is the base fully complete. Now it's time to complete the eyes, and then we can go on to lips, and then we're done. So obviously the eyes have the most steps. So now we're going to put on some eyeliner, and because we're doing a nice sunset look, I'm feeling a nude eyeliner. As always, I'm going to use these Loveyou soft kohl pencils. I absolutely love these. I am also going to do something else today. I'm going to use the Melt Cosmetics brown eyeliner. This is, what is the shade? I think it's shade Columbia. It says Columbia. I don't know if that means it was made in Colombia or what. But these are also very nice eyeliner pencils. These are way more expensive. These are £13. Whereas the Loveyou are $5.50, but Loveyou only does nude, black and white, whereas Melt does a lot of other colours. What I'm going to do with the brown, and I also recommend you do this as well, even if you have hooded eyes, is just place it in the very, very outer corner. no more than a third of the way into your waterline, about there, because that really helps the depth of your outer corner, because then when you put the lighter liner here, it opens it even more but shuts it here, so you get shadow and depth here, but then you get open here. And I really, really like this technique, because we are going to be taking the darker eyeshadow down this part of the eye in a bit. So I like to marry the waterline to the outer edge of the eye. As you can see, that's just a beautiful little hue of colour. And then we're going to take this, the Loveyou Soft Coat Pencil in Carnat. Now this is one of my all-time favourite products. I've used a lot of this. This is my second one, believe it or not. And I'm also out of the white as well, almost. And we're just going to colour the rest of the waterline in with this. Now I would say the Loveyou ones are easier to get full pigment out of than the melt. You do have to work the melt one in a bit. Whereas these Loveyou ones are extremely creamy. So as you can see, that really opens the eye up at the centre, closes it at the end to give us a really nice shape. Of course, if you're like me and you have wimpy eyes, then you might water a little bit when you do this step, but don't worry about it. As long as you just look up and just let the tears sink back into your eyeballs, and you're fine. So now we're going to complete the eyeshadow, which is only going to take a couple more colours. I'm going to do something super dramatic, but what you could just do is deepen the outer edge with the colour we used earlier and go back in with the reddy orange colour and connect and done. But what I'm going to do is go back into Clove one more time with our domed brush, and we're just going to start bringing it down a little bit so it creates an almost V-like shape at the outer edge like this. Be careful not to take it too far down. But if you do, there are strategies. But of course we're not going to do that today. Don't worry too much about blending it out yet. We just kind of want to get the colour in place before we do anything with it. Now what I'm going to do is something I've never done on this channel before, and I'm very excited to do this. We are going to get fallout when we do this part though, so it does worry me a tiny bit, but we're going to do it. So we're going to take this very thin brush, which is actually an eyebrow brush slash a liner brush, and we're going to go into a very intense shimmer colour. We're going to go into Azalea, this gorgeous, gorgeous colour that has the red glitter. I want to see if you can see this on camera, but it's so pretty. Like, it has more of a nude-esque base, but a stunning red glitter, which I don't think you can see, sadly. But you might be able to see it on pictures that I post later. And you can see the red glitter is not fine at all. You can see it, it's beautiful. And I'm going to take that colour onto here, and I'm actually going to tap it off to get rid of the excess. This is something you need to build up really slowly, because otherwise you're going to get fallout everywhere. And I'm going to do the lower lash line with a shimmer. Who would have ever thought I would have done that? As you can see, we had a beautiful effect from that. I'll bring you up close, you can see the shimmer a little bit as well. I love this colour though, it's so pretty. I just love this palette, it's such a good palette. Now I don't like to take it too far down because I feel like it goes into black eye territory if you do that. So I'm going to take the brush that we did the deeper colour with no extra product on it, and just really, really work it in on that corner. And I'm going to take the original brush we used with our transition colour, one dip of the transition colour, and I'll just connect it to the outer edge, just to diffuse any of the sort of really harsh lines that we just created by doing what we just did. And to complete the winging out process. Let's bring you in close just so you can see the beautiful colour on the lower lash line. You can see the depth on the outer edge now. You can see how much that accentuates the eye, how much it shapes the eye. You can see it didn't take it too far in, so the inner part of the eye looks more open and looks a lot less colourful and intense and overly pigmented. And that, I think, is the eyeshadow complete, guys. I think what I will do is put a little bit more highlighter in the inner corner, because I think when we were blending our colour into that, we lost a bit of the intensity. So let's get a bit more ice cold in there. That's the armour. Yes, that's what I wanted. Right, so now we're on to mascara and then lips and we're done. So I'm going to use the L'Oreal Paradise Primer Ecstatic. So this is the lash primer. I don't necessarily believe you have to have a lash primer, but I do think this is a good product. It's not something I'd repurchase, I don't think, but I do like it. And if I'm going for something extremely dramatic, then this is what I want. I'm only going to prime my top lashes. I'm not going to prime the lower lashes. I don't wear lower lash line mascara to work. I only wear it for videos like this and for nights out because I find it always transfers on me. So I need it for more, I do it for more short-term engagements, but nothing particularly long-term. But the top lashes, they need to stay exactly where they are. A good tip if you find that your lashes are sticking together and going a weird way is use the end of the brush and really get in there like this. I find that whenever you use this, it makes the mascara go on extremely intense, and it's so good because you haven't got to use so much product. So mascara, I've been doing something completely different. I usually use I was using the Too Faced Better Than Sex Waterproof for a while, went off that, too clumpy. Same with the L'Oreal Lash Paradise. I love it, but it's so clumpy and it's so messy, I would never purchase it again. And it's the same with that, the Essence one. I used that in my last video that I never got to show you. That one makes your lashes look so good. It's called False Lash Effect, and it's the Lash Princess, and it does, but it transfers like an absolute mofo. Like it transfers to your tops, to your bottoms, it goes absolutely everywhere. No matter what you do, you will always get transfer with that mascara. So I've stopped using it, and now I'm back on the Benefit Roller Lash Mascara. So this was the first mascara I ever used, and it has a very cool wand like this, so you can go this way to catch your top lashes and this way to catch your lower lashes. And I think this is a beautiful product. This is something I absolutely love. It doesn't transfer that bad. It's a bit of a watery form, so I've got to be careful when you're applying it on the tops, but I don't find it just instantly goes everywhere. It doesn't mega smudge. On your lower lash line it could if you sweat a lot like I do. On your tops I think you should be okay. And yeah, let's get into applying it. I'll have to buy a new one of these soon. And as you can see, that's the effect we're going to get because we used the primer as well. I'm not going to show you, I'm just going to see we already got a dot. Because I put the primer on, it sort of makes it a bit more frail. But it doesn't matter, a tiny dot like that, you can get rid of it really easy. I'll show you how to do that in a minute. But one thing I love about this mascara is even when you don't use it with a primer, you still get a really nice effect. I'll have to show you that in the future when I don't use the primer, because what I love about this mascara so much, and why it's such a fan favourite with a lot of people, is because it curls your lashes for you, which is why it's so good. You don't need to curl your lashes when you use an item like this, which is why I love it. So a lot of people will dunk back in to do their lower lashes. I don't like to do that because I find we can get too much too soon. So what I'm going to do is use the other end of the brush. Oh, when you go up so close you can see all the red sparkly glitter. As you can see, it's very good for the lower lash line. It just separates them so good. But obviously be wary that if you're someone who sweats a hell of a lot, it'll probably transfer a bit. Look at that, they look so good. So a good tip when you bump yourself with mascara is don't try and remove it straight away, because it ain't going to work and it's going to go absolutely everywhere. Now we're going to go on to lips, the last step. So I'm going to do a red lip today. I've never done a red lip on this channel before, so this is very exciting for me because I love red lips, I just don't do them very often. So we're going to use the Milani Colour Statement Lip Liner in, well, red something, True Red. And I'm going to line my lips with this. Red is very unforgiving, so this might take a while. These are really, really good lip liners, by the way. They're £4.50, I absolutely love them. Benefit Roller Lash is £16.50 or $17, and the lash primer is $11. Now this is not a deep red lip liner, this is more on the... Sorry, I was just trying to focus. This is more on the blue-based red lip line. So you can use this with a lot of really traditional reds, like, you know, Red Rum Jeffree Star or Ruby Woo MAC, which is not my favourite red. We'll have to talk about that in the future. In fact, to be honest guys, in general, I'm not really big into lipstick bullets. I don't know if it's just me. But I just find that even if a lipstick bullet says it's long lasting, it just never is, and it just goes in about 10 seconds. Ooh, we got some transfer, guys. Didn't do that to me the other day, how dare you? But of course, like I always say, it's less me, it's less the product and more me. Because every mascara does this to me, which is why I don't wear lower lash line mascara very often. Here we are, I've lined my lips and filled them in a little bit. So we're going to use a bit of a different product today. I've never showed this before. My mother gave me this. This is from one of her beauty boxes. This is by the brand Jelly Pong Pong, and this is the Super Matte. Jelly Pong Pong is a great name. This is the Super Matte Lip Crayon, and these are extremely pigmented. Let me show you. Now this is not a long-lasting formula like most lip crayons, lip pencils, you know, lip bullets are. But I do think if you're wearing lipstick short-term, products like this are really good. So let's go. I absolutely love the smell of this. It smells like a soap. No, soap is wrong. Like when you walk into Lush, that's what it smells like. So what I'm going to top it off with, as I can say, reds are very unforgiving, so you've got to be really, really careful. But that's the colour applied. It's a gorgeous colour. We're going to top it off with the Wet n Wild Mega Last Liquid Catsuit. This is a metallic red lipstick. And I'm just going to top it off with this just to give it a bit more of a sheen. As you can see, we get a beautiful sheen from this colour. Let's just show you it on the hand. And right, now it comes for the tip to get rid of mascara dots. So you can either use a spoolie and scrape it off, or you can use a Q-tip and rub it off. I would recommend the spoolie because at least then you won't accidentally smudge it into your eye or anything. Sometimes you may have to do patch with concealer if it's really, being really nasty to you. You could also use a really fine point liner brush to get it off as well. This is the final look, guys. We have a little bit of transfer here. I'm going to cover that up and show you some glamour shots at the end. So here's our nice natural glowy makeup, contoured, blush, highlight, gorgeous sunset eyes with the beautiful Natasha Denona palette, which I absolutely adore, and a gorgeous, stunning red lip. So I really, really hope you guys enjoyed this video. Please like, subscribe, comment down below what you want to see from me in the future, what palettes you want me to see me use, what colours you want me to see me play with, something different perhaps, any lips you want to see me try on. Like, I'm not doing dark lips, so don't even say purple lips because it looks awful on me, so just don't. But yeah, please let me know what you think. I really, really hope you guys enjoyed this. I hope you took some tips from this. If there's anything you'd like me to elaborate on in the comments, please let me know or give me a private message, anything. Ring the bell to be notified for all of our future videos. And yeah, I love you all so much. And I hope you have the most amazing evening wherever you are. Bye, guys.